Welcome to How to Decorate from Ballard Designs, a weekly podcast all about the trials and triumphs of decorating and redecorating your home. I'm Caroline, I'm on the marketing team.
And I'm Taryn, and I'm a product designer.
I'm Liz, I head up the creative team.
We're your hosts. Join the expert team at Ballard Designs for tips, tricks, and tales from interior designers, stylists, and other talents in the design world.
Plus, we'll answer your decorating dilemmas at the end of each episode.
We love answering your questions, so don't forget to email us at podcast@ballarddesigns.net.
Now, on with the show.
We are thrilled to welcome back to the show New Jersey interior designer Gail Davis. First, studying under Bunny Williams and David Kleinberg, then opening her own firm, Gail Davis Designs. She's been bringing soulful but elegant interiors to her clients for 15 years. Back in 2022, we had her on the show, and we are thrilled to bring her back to talk about her renovation project. Gail, welcome back to the show.
Hooty-hoo. Hello, ladies.
So happy to have you back. And of course, I had seen your recent kitchen renovation, and I know that so many people, dream about a kitchen renovation and eventually start planning their kitchen renovation. But what a mammoth project, and scary and expensive. And so I thought, you know what? She's the perfect person to talk people through what goes into it. What do you avoid? What'd you do right? All that stuff. So can't wait to hear all of your thoughts.
The playbook. We want the whole playbook so that people who might be thinking it's time know what to do and what to avoid. So,
Oh my goodness. Do we start with storage?
Sure, let's start with the why.
Yeah. Let's start with the sort of the impetus for the renovation.
Okay. So we've been in our house since 2003, and I always knew this was going to be, a costly project, because everyone thinks it's HGTV overnight and you could just do something. I was like, no, all of this costs money. So then 2020 happened, and then that's when they were looking more, everyone was scrambling to get Black content creators and Black designers. And my friend Hadley Keller, who at the time worked at House Beautiful, I said, hey, so I want to do my kitchen. Here's what I'm thinking. I'll pay for the labor. House Beautiful will sponsor it. And I said, what do you think? And she was like, okay. And she's like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, oh my God. So then I was like to my husband, quick, we got to make sure we have the money set aside, for Lior. Because honestly, ladies, I don't pay attention to the money when it comes to things in the house. I'm not going to lie. My husband is really good at that. He's always like, your world is so beautiful. So then
his spreadsheets.
Yeah, that's what he does, so I'm like, good. So then I really started to think about, over the years, I was collecting pictures, and especially we were talking about show houses. I was always making sure I went to the Kip Space show house, and the thing was always going to the kitchens, because I was like, I want the most amazing dream kitchen that I can have for me, for our household. I knew that I wanted to feel grown and sexy, but I also knew I wanted it to feel like you were in a high-end restaurant. You know how when you go and you sit there and you dine, and you're just taking everything in, you're looking around. It's just such a great experience. That's what I wanted for us. And so I also knew that I wanted a lot of texture, and that I was fixated on this brass hood. I had to have a brass hood.
Was that the key piece that you started the actual visual design?
I'm going to say kind of, and I'll tell you why. I went to KBIS in 2020. And I turned the corner because I was like, okay, if we're going to do a kitchen renovation, this is before I knew that, I was going to do it with House Beautiful. I was like, let me see, because I really want to check out all the ranges, because I wanted a big range for us. I mean, I can cook, but I don't. And it's more like my husband does. Otherwise, we don't eat. So I was like, I really want something amazing. I turned the corner, and there it was, the monogram. I think it was 60 inches. And maybe it was, I think it was 60 inches. And it was on the dais, and it was just turning around. I was like, oh, this is it. This is it. I'm going to do it. Yeah. I was like, oh my God. And then from there, I turned the corner, and then there was this refrigerator that had a glass door. And I was like, oh, this will be amazing. I could see inside. And then I saw the brass hood, and I was like, done. So, I was talking to my husband about it, talking to him about it, and walking him through everything. And then when he saw the refrigerator, he was like, what is this? And I was like, oh, it's the refrigerator. It's so chic. We'll be able to look inside. He was like, are you kidding me? Absolutely not. He was like, it's going to be a mess. I don't want to sit there and look at that. So then I switched and got the range. But I pitched monogram. And I spoke with my representative and, and she was like, well, okay, we'll see. And she's like, pick your dream pieces. And I'm like, you said enough, not a problem, right? So then I showed her everything I wanted, sent it to her. And then from there, it just like everything started to fall into place. The tile shop through House Beautiful, they wanted to work with me. My cabinetry, I went through Fabuwood because I saw them also when I was at KBiz. I mean, I really wanted like Christopher Peacock, but let's just calm down here. A girl can dream. But I'm super happy with what I have. I think the lessons for me is like, I wasn't reconfiguring the layout. I love the layout of our kitchen. I just wanted it updated and not look crusty the way it was looking.
You have an old home, right? You have like a very
100.
Traditional 100-year-old home. So was there ever any talk of pulling out a wall? Like, I feel like so many people do that where they want to open it up or to pull out walls. Any talk of that at all?
No, none at all. Initially, a kitchen designer years ago, when I was a member of the Junior League, came over and she was like, oh, knock out this wall and do that. And I was like, whoa, what are you talking about? I was like, again, I told you I like the footprint. We don't entertain we haven't, like 20 to 30 people at a time. The last big party we had was probably 5 years ago, and it was like 150 people in the house, right? We are now more like, who can sit at the dining table? That's as many people that we need in the house. And also, I just didn't want it to be so big that, even though you're not entertaining, you still have to clean it, and no one thinks about that. Everyone thinks about knocking out walls, making space, having an island. That was a big, big thing that I didn't do that a lot of people were pissed about. And I'm like, you have to do what works for your family every single day, not just what looks good or will look great editorially. For me, it was like, what works well for Ben and Gail Davis?
Yeah. People upset about no kitchen island.
Oh my God, did you see? The kitchen is not big enough for an island. I just want open space. I have 3 dogs. Again, I like the layout. The only thing I did was where the table and chairs were, I built out a banquette. And that's all I did. That was everything else. And I did get a bigger range and a bigger refrigerator because both were 36. And I was like, no, go up. I really wanted a 60-inch. And then I was like, just calm down. Just get the 48 and call it a day.
Wow. So the banquette, that's a pretty core piece of your kitchen. And I love the textures that you put into that area and into the whole kitchen altogether. But tell me what you love about that banquette seating area. And are you in there all the time? How are you using it?
Oh, I've slept on it at least 4 times. Overnight, I'm not going to lie. I have slept on it. I love that when you sit in there, it feels very much like you're having a top tier restaurant experience. And I love that it looks out into the kitchen so I can have conversations when my husband is cooking. And I just love that it just feels very adult and grown, where before I had a table and chairs, but the chairs are so cumbersome. You're moving around, you're scooting around. The table it's a beautiful round table that I put in, and it's just like a simple scoot in. I did faux leather, right? Because again, I have 3 dogs. I did the back in this corduroy fabric, and then I stitched it with a leather stitch from Samuel and Son that has white stitching in it. So there's a lot of masculinity in it. And then the wallpaper almost looks like a cable knit sweater, but like a tight cable knit. And I just love all the textures and the variations of that. And it is such a wonderful place to sit. Even yesterday, just sitting there, Saturday, I was in my pajamas all day and, just working there. And I was like, wow, this is just great because I can work, I can snack because the refrigerator's right there. And then also too, I did cafe curtains. And just like I did the stitching around the banquette for the seams, I also did that at the bottom of the drapery of the cafe curtain. So there's a little bit of, zhuzh there as well.
That level of texture and that twist of masculinity in your spaces are really what I think you do best.
I love the play on cool and warm tones. You've got sort of more of maybe it's not gray, but like a grayish cabinet. But then the brass and then the floor was just, I love that sort of terracotta floor, or maybe it's not terracotta. I don't know what it is. But
it is. It's kind of like, I know what you're saying, which is another big thing that I got a knock on, where people are like, oh my God, that floor is dated. Or why would she pick something like that? I was like, because I have 3 dogs. And if something drops, I don't want to feel like I have to mop the floor every night, because I am OCD that way. I just want to be able to like sweep and call it a day. It also isn't like a stark white. It's an off-white. It's a little bit rustic. So, you know, even if you mop it all the way down, it still doesn't look, it's not meant to look pristine.
Right.
Like I just didn't want to be crazy about cleaning. You know, like, oh my God, oh, I see that. Oh, I got to wipe it down. I didn't want that. Like I tell clients, you got to live in your home. It's not a museum.
Right.
You know, nothing should be precious. And that was the big thing for me. I didn't want it to be precious.
Well, I thought the floor was really surprising because it is such a big, bold pattern. And you went big, bold pattern there instead of on a backsplash, which I think people kind of normally do.
Yeah. Backsplash is so pretty though.
Thank you. Well, there's 2 where the butler's pantry is. I did herringbone, where I was showing you earlier, Caroline, the leather doors.
Yeah.
So there's the herringbone, which is like an off-white, and then it's the leather, the chagrin wrap doors with brass knobs. And then I also had the glass removed, and then I did rib glassing, because I once again, I love texture. And you have to remember, I also worked for like Bunny and David. So I got to see a lot working there. And when we would design people's homes, and I'd be like, oh my God, or just do a space. And it clicked for me what I thought design was, as opposed to what it really is working for them. And you're like, oh, okay, now I get it. Like a room should feel, or any space should feel, if it's done properly, like a hug. Like you should want to like linger and stay there. Like you don't want, you know how people rush to go away on vacation? Like you should have that feeling being at home. And that's exactly how I feel. Like, you know, the dogs are happy. They, you know, chew a little bit on stuff, but you should really love your space, and it should really just feel like a hug, and you just feel like I've arrived.
So you feel like texture is the way that they achieve that hug?
Yes.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
So do you just try, like, how many textures is too many to have in a room? Or do you just try to make them all, like, incorporate as many as you can?
Incorporate as many as I can, because it's also, for me, I'm in my living room now, right? And I just want to show you, like, with the drapery. Can you see that?
Oh, fabulous. Oh, safety pins.
Yes. So I'm all about texture. Like, no matter where I am, if I can't touch it, I need to see it. And so I like to really like layer and just really feel like, oh, that feels so lovely.
Dial this back a minute. For your draperies, instead of a tape trim, you have safety pins that run down the edging?
It is a tape. Can you see it? It is a tape trim.
Yeah, it's sort of like a black or brown tape trim, but it has like safety pins sewed along it to create a pattern.
Yeah.
Which is that how you would say that?
It is. So it's safety pins on a band, and it's from Schumacher. And I'll never forget, I showed it to my friend, Brian Paquette. I was like, what do you think? He's like, you may get tired of it. I was like, no, this is going to be amazing. And I'm like so happy because it's on the drapery, and then it's also on the flat Roman shade. So you really get to see it. But I like I said, like everything, it just needs to be so textural for me. Like that's my joy.
It's interesting. I feel like a lot of, you were saying like what you thought design was, and then when you realized what it actually was. I feel like it's really easy to see a design and be able to like water it down and say, oh, like this is a tulip table, and then I'm going to use a different tulip table, totally different, maker, and the details are different, but it's a one-to-one. Like, I think people in this sort of like look for less, like Pinterest world, want to figure out like a dupe, right?
Yes.
But it's like those tiny little details that are what are setting a Bunny Williams or a Gail Davis room aside from what you're doing it yourself, because you're you're zeroing in on these teeny little details, like a wavy glass pane and a leather wrapped cabinet, which we need to get back to, by the way, because I need to know more details about that. But, it's like, you can't just, water it down. When you water it down, that's when you're losing that hug feeling.
Yes, most definitely. I literally have a client right now who I'll be parting ways with, because she hired me because she wants me to do it. But now it's like, well, what about this? And what about that? Or how about if I go shopping? And I was like, well, that's not what it is. And I always tell people, when you hire me, just step back and let me do it, because even though it looks like you may be able to do it, like I still, when people say, oh, I'm visual, and I'm like, you're not visual. Like, I'm visual. Like, I can see how the space is supposed to be. And I can see like the textures dancing in my head or like in my mind's eye. And I'm like, ooh, that's going to be so great there, And so I really become obsessed with it. But yeah, you're like, even artwork, like everything you bring in, you can, have like the regular, for lack of better terms, like paper, but then you need like artwork that has texture and just like really make it just all come together. And also hang artwork differently. I'll show you later, but I have artwork that's literally opposite this wall, and it's underneath instead of on top. So it's underneath the lamp here, so you can see it. Like, I like it at all different levels throughout. And it just needs, again, it's a different type of version of layer, but it's just texture and layer. And it just, for me, it brings it together.
Can we go back to the leather wrapped cabinet? Because I just need to know like more almost like logistics of that. So how do they wrap it? Is that something you can have your cabinet maker do?
Or is that an upholsterer?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's interesting. It is my guy in Gaithersburg, Maryland, called Echo, ECO Domo, DOMO. And that's all they do. I forgot how I found him, but I was so fascinated. And I knew, like, wherever I found him at, maybe it was K-Biz, I was like, he's got to do my cabinets, right? Because where the butler's pantry is, it's still in the kitchen, but it's just like off to the side. So I needed to let it have its own moment. And I became obsessed with him. I did my Potomac project for my client's husband because we did so much for her. Women get everything. And we wanted to make her husband feel special. So what I did was, with the doors to his closet, I had them wrapped in chagrin, and then I had them double stitched. So, we did this MTech hardware that was ribbed. So there was a lot of texture there. And so it just felt weighty, like when you open the doors, and as you're opening the doors, I had the lights come on. So even when he opens the drawers, like the drawers light up so he can see into them, and then I had my organizer like really put everything in. So it's almost like that movie with Colin Firth. Why can't I remember it? Anyway, it's just this feeling. And again, that's another way to do texture, where it's all, for me, it's like, what am I touching and grasping and like opening, or how is it operating to take it to the next level?
Yes, it's like the tactileness of a material is so important.
Yes.
And again, I feel like that's, another element of what you're talking about with the texture. Like, it's not just what color is your sofa, it's how does the sofa feel under your fingers and under your, those are sort of the elements that a designer is considering that the normal sort of decorator doesn't, without, listening from you. So right. I love that.
Thank you. Something else about my guy, Echo Domo, they even do floors in leather. Like, they can wrap anything in any color, in That's any unreal. Texture leather. Like, it's just so insane what they can do. And when you go into his showroom, you're just blown away, because you're like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. Their bathroom, both the ladies and the men's, the floor, like everything is in leather. And you don't realize, and you don't think about it until then, like, all of this is durable and it's easy to clean. And so the next project, when I go back to my Potomac project, we're going to do something special for the husband's office. And I definitely want to do his floors in leather.
Can you nick it? Like, could you, I assume it's really wipeable, which is nice, but like, would you nick it, or would it get like scratches or anything in it? Like, it gets
scratches, but you can also use like leather CPR and just wipe it down. Again, it's a hide.
Right.
But I feel like you should really live in your house, and like things are going to get nicked and bumped and bruised. And that also adds to the patina and the texture of your home. And it just makes it that much more inviting.
That sent me on a tangent because I just did not realize that it was wrapped in the chagrin, and that is so fabulous.
Yes, thank you.
Well, your combo in that space, like you're talking about, these textures that you have are just so interesting in your wet bar area. To have that upper, and then you have the lowers. And what do you have a specific color for what your lowers are? The cabinet?
Yes, it's fabulous. Some type of, oh my God, onyx taupe, I think they call it.
Would you describe it as gray or taupe yourself?
So it's funny, at any moment it can look gray and then it can look taupe and then it kind of reads like a faint green. Like it's really weird. It depends on how the light is hitting it. And I've watched that like from morning to night, how it just changes. The other thing too with the cabinetry, because I kept saying to them, I'm a woman of a certain age, don't send me shelving. And then everything came in and I was like, no, I told you rollouts or drawers. I was like, I'm not getting on my knees looking for anything and pulling stuff out. I want to like roll it out, or it needs to be in a drawer. So that was the other thing that was big for me too.
And you have a refrigerator drawer in the top of it in the center? What is that? All I can see is
yes.
It's a warming drawer.
It's a warming drawer.
So what was your intent there? Because right in the middle, there's okay.
So
go ahead.
That was funny. We had, me and my architect, we had designed everything, and then everything came in. I was like, oh, I forgot about the warming drawer. He's like, yeah, just send it back. It's not going to fit. I was like, oh my God, you never tell a woman that. So we cook a lot here. And I have moved away from using the microwave so much because everything is like, oh, just, you cooked and now the client, the guests are here, just pop it in. But the warming drawer is something absolutely amazing, even though the range can do that too. Like it can just keep things warm. So it's nice to be able to cook and then just turn it on and then pop the plates or pop the food in there. And it keeps everything, nice and warm. So when you get it, you're not having to heat up like 8 plates again.
Smart. Yeah, I was kind of on that vein. I was kind of curious about, you said your husband loves to cook and y'all do entertain, maybe not hundreds of people, but you entertain, a lot. And so I was curious how you balanced the aesthetics with the practicality. Were there any places where you like traded practicality for aesthetics or vice versa?
I think it was the refrigerator that was glass doors where he was like, no, ma'am, not in this house. He was like, when I don't want to look at it and I don't want to have to keep it like clean and neat. But I was like, it's so great because you knock on the glass. He was like, no. Like, wait. So he's my voice of reason where I was like, this is going to be amazing. And he's like, oh, sweetie. Okay, no. And then he's just like, well, this is why. And I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. You're right. He goes, yeah, just step away. Just step away. And then also with the brass hood, at first, when it came in, they didn't send me the brass because Monogram, I guess, had stopped making it for that time. And then another friend went to K-Biz, the most recent one, and I saw them panning across doing a video. I was like, wait, what? So then I was like, wait, it's back. So then next thing I know, I took a screenshot and I sent it to my person at Monogram. And she's like, yeah, no, we already sent you the stainless steel. And I was like, listen, it's a tax write-off for you. You can do that. And she's like, no. So I was like, okay, I know how I'm going to do this. So I went on Instagram Live and I was like, so what say you? This is what I wanted. This is what they sent. And then next thing I know, they're like, okay, Gail, you can have the brass hood. Because it's also a big element. Like when you turn the corner, if you're coming down the hall and you turn in, it's really stunning to look at. And it was a version of texture for me that I really love. So I am in love with my kitchen. I'm not going to lie. Like it works well for me. I also pissed people off because they thought the window was yellow and it's just wood. I didn't paint it. I was like, I don't want it painted. It's shellacked, for a lack of terms. I'm trying to think of the word, but I just have it like glazed over. So the wood is still there and it's pretty and it's untouched.
I thought it was yellow and I loved it yellow.
Thank you.
I thought it was kind of fabulous. It because of your dining, it does in the photo look sort of like the same wall color as your dining room.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of a great element. And I like how you took the backsplash, like the marble above the windowsill too. That's so pretty.
Thank you. It was funny when I said that my, not the architect, Leo, or my contractor, he was like, up there? And I was like, yes, because wherever it's not, I'm going to have to clean. If I have to clean, then I just want to be able to wipe. And, you know, again, that was, for me, it was also like, how easy is this to clean? You know, because he cooks and I clean.
I like that breakdown of tasks. That's fair.
I think so. Thank you.
Are any pieces that really surprised you? Like, you know, you built the whole room, you pulled it all together, but is there one element that like surprised you and you like more than you thought you would?
The coffee garage. Because normally, like, you take the doors this way and open it like that, right? And that's what I was telling them. And it was all the guys in the room. They're like, no, we can't do that. I was like, yes, you can. And they're like, no. And then the guy from Fabiowood was, well, we could do it this way. So it literally looks like a garage door. And it's so cool the way it happens because it just pops up. And I'm like, this. So I was a little annoyed at first, but then I was like, no, I actually like this.
Yeah, that would seem like a treat that you're opening something special, you know, every time you go in there.
I love it. I love it.
And you can tuck it away when you.
And I was going to say to put it behind beautiful cabinetry too, just to get rid of clutter is so nice. Just visually.
Yeah. I'm super happy with the kitchen because there is way less clutter. And when I look at the pictures of before, I was like, I actually showed people where I live. Like, that was so gross.
Well, see, now you've got a great before picture. So
there you go.
Right.
Everyone loves a before and after. But I wanted to ask, just because you were speaking to how you have cleanup duty, so that was important to you, but your husband's a cook. So what were his must-haves?
Honestly, my husband's easy. He didn't care.
So other than a large range.
Yeah, well, he didn't even realize how large. Put it this way, when the renovation started, and you know how things come in and you check it out, and I was like, oh, babe, come look. He's like, I don't want to see it till it's finished. So for a year and a half, or however long it took like a year and almost 2 months, he never walked past the kitchen at all. He would come through the front door. Like my husband doesn't care like that. Like he just, is it done? I'm like, no. He goes, I don't need to see it until it's done. I was like, no, but you need to see it. It's like, I don't care. I don't want to see it till it's done. And when I came in, I was like, what do you think? He's so like, you know, nice. And he walked out. But he, you know, talking to his friends, he really loves it. And especially because he has a crew of friends. If I haven't shared with you, it's Gothenburger Social Club on Instagram. And they have like crazy amount of followers. And they're known for their burgers. And so during COVID, him and his guys, how it started was, it was 4 friends that would go out for burgers every Tuesday night and then rate them. And then they got this massive following. And then when the pandemic happened, a lot of the restaurants couldn't serve food, but they could serve drinks. So then him and his friends, the chefs, would call on them and be like, hey, can you come do some of your burgers on a grill outside? They gave them a grill that would go from all these different restaurants. And then people would come out and it would be a line wrapped around the building. And so his partner in finance decided, no more finance. I'm going to open Gothenburger Social Club. And so now he has opened the actual restaurant in New York City, and it is insane. Like it's always wrapped around the block. So yeah.
That's a really cool story.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So it's 4 friends that started rating burgers, and then it just morphed into this insane following. Like last week I was in Brooklyn because Michter's Bourbon, who they drink the bourbon, now supplies the bourbon for them. And whenever they come to town, they fly them to Kentucky so they can, be at the Derby or try new barrels of bourbon. And we get deliveries of bourbon. Like it's so insane. So that's when it comes into play. And, with the 48-inch range, I made sure we had a griddle on that so he could do his burgers. But, he's easy to please.
So the burger guys approve of your kitchen is what I'm hearing.
Oh my God, yes. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And Mr.
It's endorsed by Gothenburger Social.
Yes, they love it. They love it. They always ask me about it. So
how did you balance like blending the the design of the kitchen? Because I the thing I love about your style is how sleek it is, but then there is this like timeless traditional element, but all of the silhouettes and all the furniture pieces like have a sleekness and like a drama to them. I'm curious how you blended like your old home with this sort of sleek and very glam kitchen. Like, that seems like it would be challenging because your go-to thought would be like, okay, timeless center hall colonial, like very sort of classic kitchen. And it's so, I don't know, sleek and pretty and glam.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. Call me every day, please. It's so funny because I feel like I keep hearing like I'm a traditional designer. And I'm like, it's like, well, what is traditional? I feel like you got to love your home. And I think it's also visiting, like I always think of going to my grandparents' house on Long Island because that's where I'm initially from. And my grandparents are from South Carolina or were from South Carolina. And it was just always going in and everything was so tailored and just so tangible. Like it's just great texture and it was just so well thought out. And I always tell people like I have a Southern sensibility where I welcome people into my home. And it's like, what can I get you to drink? Or would you like some cake? Or like there's a Southern sensibility to entertaining as opposed to like New York style, no offense to anybody here on the East Coast, I live here, where it's like, come on in, have a drink, where it's like, it's a welcoming in. And that's how I feel like I want the whole house to feel like you're being welcomed, like you're being ushered in to like have an experience. And so when I'm doing that, I'm thinking of like, how do I lay this out so it makes sense that way, if that makes sense?
No, I think maybe it's like your sort of floor plans and like the textures are more traditional, like designer, but then the shapes you're choosing are like,
or in the details,
funky
or in a
lamp,
color pop, or
yeah. Like a lot of people are fascinated by the table at the banquet because everyone that comes in, they're like, oh, and I was like, what? And they're like, oh, it's not wood and it's marble, but it's not like the typical marble that you see. And I was like, I don't know. And even going around the edge, it's ribbed and it's just beautiful. It's like little undulations. It's just really nice. I don't know. I just keep thinking about like, how do I want the room to feel? I love old movies. And if you watch anything with Doris Day or Rock Hudson, like most recently, I watched The Critics' Choice with Lucille Ball and Bob Hope. And just the space itself, like I get so enamored by what I see. And I'm like, how can I translate that? How can I do that? Like the original Look Who's Coming to Dinner with Sidney Poitier. Oh my God. And Hepburn and Spencer Tracy. If you look at that set design, it is just overwhelming. And I always think like, how can I translate that for my clients so they will always love where they live?
That's kind of a wonderful way to think about it too, because you want to set a scene. You want to set your home is your backdrop.
Today I had an interview on my podcast with David Mann of Mr. or MR Architecture and Design. And he gave me such the highest compliment. I was like, oh, I didn't know. He's like, I checked out your work. You're really great. And he goes, there's something cinematic about your design that just pulls you in. I was like, well, hello, sir. Any day. I was like, well, all right. But that's how I see things. I see it, I guess, I just want it to be like when you open the door, like you watch a movie and they open the door and you're just like, oh, like, what am I looking at? Like you're just trying to take it all in, but it also feels like you're in the space. And that's super important to me, that even when I shoot the pictures and I have my, web person put them up on my website, she's like, every time you shoot the pictures, I always feel like I'm in the space when I look at it. And that is super important to me.
Mm-hmm. It does feel like a hug. I don't know. It is hard. It's hard to, I think, articulate what item or, like what details about it feel so cozy, but the overall, sort of vibe is cozy.
Well, thank you.
Okay. I have to go back to the cleaning thing because I was scrolling TikTok recently and one of your videos came up on my TikTok feed of you cleaning. And in the video, you said that you love to clean, and it's very relaxing to you. So I was curious, okay, what are your like go-to cleaning items? Any hacks that you love? And, you know, just kind of what is your like, what do you like about cleaning?
Okay, so I do have a cleaning crew. I will tell you that.
That's okay. There's a lot of cleaning that happens in between the cleaning crew coming.
But
That's
I have
true.
my moments where I good old-fashioned dust mop, not a Swiffer, good old-fashioned dust mop for the floors, right? For the wood floors go through. Baking soda is your best friend because I have 3 dogs. I never want my house to have an odor. So I will put down baking soda, if not a day, sometimes 2 days before. And I just let it sit on all the carpeting, even though like there's little paw prints everywhere. But that takes all the scent out. Also, if you have a cigar smoker like I do, even though he's outside, sometimes I can smell it in the house. A little cup of vinegar just takes all of that out. Vinegar is your best friend. Like I clean with vinegar and baking soda. Like it's not harsh and it just cleans and it takes away all of like the nasty odors that would be in the house. Folex, like Rolex is your best friend. It needs to be in everyone's house because it will take everything out.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
It is
Folex is great.
Is the most amazing thing. And I was like, how did I not know about this earlier? Just a good, dust rag that you can, like one of those micro rags that I love to use just to go through. And there's this beeswax for wood. That's really amazing to clean with because it gives it a nice shine, but you can like also just swipe it down. So those are my things, but definitely everybody needs Folex in their household along with vinegar. And I have literally a vat, like a huge vat of baking soda that I use to clean.
You know what? I was thinking recently about like growing up, my mom would put like a carpet, something, I don't know, some sort of powder on the carpets before vacuuming them. And I literally haven't thought of that in years, but I don't know if that's a thing that everyone does, but I didn't do. But yeah, the baking soda is so smart.
But baking soda is so much fun.
I'm gonna do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like even on the, like when I'm switching my bed over and I strip the bed, I sprinkle the baking soda over it and let it sit. So then when I come back, I just vacuum it off, like vacuum it all up. And then I put the linens on top of it. It's just everything. You're seating your upholstery, just put it on there.
That's so great.
I love it.
I'm going to do that. Yeah.
I was going to say, I've done it in my, like, do you have any of the little not fleece line, slippers? They get all like, and they just get kind of, obviously, because your foot's in them all winter. So I always do like a little
great in the car too.
Yep. I use it in laundry. Instead of like a softener, I put that on and let me tell you, your sheets will feel amazing. Like
so you put it in the washing cycle?
Yep.
Okay.
I use vinegar for one, and then the other little area I put in the baking soda there. But I'm telling you, like your linen comes out different, your towels, everything feels so much softer.
I think I need to get a bigger box of baking soda is what I'm hearing.
Giant.
We all need that.
Costco sized.
Yes.
Okay, we do have a question from Kayla, and I'm going to read it. Hello, ladies and Gail. Thank you so much for your informative and fun podcast. My carpenter builder husband and I are working on plans to build our home in the next few years. I'm very inspired by Frank Lloyd Wright's Usonian-style homes and his use of elements like natural materials, geometric shapes, cornering clear-story windows, built-ins, and clean lines. How can we create a house with a strong architectural influence without it feeling like a time capsule? And how can we incorporate some more contemporary elements, such as a larger kitchen, without them feeling out of place? I've attached a few inspiration photos. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. So this is not her house where she currently lives.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Frank Lloyd Wright. What I loved, I went to Falling Water and it literally took my breath away when I turned the corner. I love how what she should do is think about what is in nature and what is outside and how can she translate that and pull that in for it to make sense, right? You also don't have to stick with a lot of like dark colors. You can brighten it up a bit and just think of like the different greens that are outside and what actually goes with the greens or whatever's going on in your garden and pull that in. So this way it's not so much of a time capsule, because that can happen. Like looking at these pictures, some of them are like a little bit like dated. I mean, in a good way, but you want to be able to add a little bit of like lift it a bit, if that makes sense. I would think a lot more, again, for me with texture, also with place setting, and just wouldn't do like a glass coffee table. I'd probably bring in some concrete or even some marble. Oh my God, like this is so beautiful. And I would break it up with the proper size rugs, because undersized rugs freak me out. Like they just don't make sense to me. I'm always like, that doesn't feel off to you?
Yeah, she attached pictures of a Frank Lloyd Wright home that she loved. Yeah, so
yeah. I wonder which one. This is really beautiful. The bedroom is just insane. Can I tell you, I love that bedspread. I know we're going off here, but I love that Dick Van Dyke look.
Mm-hmm. Like the nostalgia. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I would really take advantage of like, look at what my surroundings are and pull that in. Because if you have ever visited his spaces, that's exactly what it is. Like you feel like you're inside and outside at the same time, which is so mind blowing. And then I would figure about water, where can I put water features too, to really make it, like take it to the next level, because that was just breathtaking for me.
Yeah. It's funny, like even looking at these pictures, there is a lot going on inside, but my eye just goes straight to the windows in every single room, and it's like that outdoor element that's really, almost like the focal point.
Yeah. And also lighting, because if you think about at night, like what type of amazing light fixtures can you pull in? Like whether it's a floor lamp or if it's a task lamp, and even if it's just a regular table lamp, like what texture can you bring in that adds to it? And then I would really go crazy with the lampshades, especially if it's a table lamp, because I love anything that's like, as you can see, oversized and has a lot of texture. And then I would add some type of trim to it, just as another layer, as another element, and probably, just to add to it. I would just have fun with that. And also the artwork. I would bring in a lot of artwork that has a lot of color to offset that would complement the outside and have a lot of texture.
Do you think she should do like some wood paneling or something like we've got in these example photos, or no? Like wood textures on the wall or something?
I would do wood texture, but I would do something like almost centric, like almost like squared, beveled, to make it a little bit more interesting. And then what I would do is just do like a slight deep gray or even a black in the crevices to add just another oomph to it.
Like level of contrast. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think people just like, okay, wood paneling. And you don't think like you could take that wood paneling and paint it a certain way and then add like a little gray or something in the bevel of it, like in the nook. And it's just so interesting. And then if you want to do more, add another color. So this way there's a variation of like when lighting hits throughout the day, like you get to experience all of that.
Yeah. It almost like it adds it's like the relief or something.
Yes.
Yeah. That sounds fabulous.
Oh my God, Frank Lloyd Wright. Yes. Most amazing. Love his. Well, like always like taken aback when I'm in his spaces, like, oh God, this is amazing.
I mean, and these photos that she sent, like good inspiration shots to.
Yeah. But I would also make the rugs just for me, just a lot of chunkiness in the rugs. If you can do it.
Like texture or color or both? Texture.
Almost like a boucle type of texture. In the rug. Hopefully she doesn't have dogs or kids. It would have to be in certain areas of the house, but I would do that and just add to it. But it's beautiful.
Yeah. Keep us posted on it.
Yes.
Wait to hear what she does. Gail, as always, it is just absolutely lovely to chat with you and, get to revisit your portfolio over and over again and to hear your wisdom.
Oh, thank you, ladies. This was fun as usual.
Well, thank you for sharing your kitchen. And if anyone wants to see it, you have it all posted on your Instagram. So anyone can see the images we referenced.
And in House Beautiful.
Yeah. Yes. And when you want to come, when you're up in this area, let me know. You could come over and have dinner.
So fun.
We can come to your showroom.
Yeah. Field trip. Yes, field trip. And I'll have my husband cook for you.
That'll be fabulous. Love a home
flights.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful.
Thanks, ladies.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Gail.
So good to see you.
And that's our show. You can find all of the show notes on our blog, howtodecorate.com/podcast.
To send in a decorating dilemma, email your questions to podcast@ballarddesigns.net so we can help you with your space.
And of course, be sure to follow us on social media at Ballard Designs.
Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And please leave us a review. We'd love to hear your feedback.
Until next time,
Happy
decorating.